Imagine a bullet the size of a carrot. Now imagine firing that bullet from a rifle that rests on your shoulder. For most of the 20th century, anyone who knew anything about guns would tell you that was a terrible idea. A recipe for a broken shoulder and a wildly inaccurate shot. They would tell you that the .50 caliber Browning machine gun cartridge was meant for, well, machine guns. It was meant to be bolted to the deck of a battleship, the wing of an airplane, or the turret of a tank. It wasn't meant for a single soldier to carry around. But today, the Barrett M107, also known as the M82, is one of the most famous rifles in the world. It's the gun you see in movies blowing holes through walls. It's the power weapon in video games. It's the rifle that changed how modern armies fight. And the craziest part? It wasn't designed by a government laboratory. It wasn't built by a giant arms corporation with millions of dollars in R&D budget. It was designed by a wedding photographer on his dining room table and built in a garage with a gravel floor. In this video, we are going to use the incredible X-ray models from the game world of guns, gun disassembly, to look inside this metal beast. We are going to explain, in simple terms that even your grandma would understand, how this gun defies physics to let a human shoot a machine gun bullet, and why it became the ultimate anti-stuff rifle. Our story begins in 1982 in Tennessee. Meet Ronnie Barrett. Ronnie wasn't an engineer. He wasn't a soldier. He was a professional photographer who owned a studio. On New Year's Day, 1982, Ronnie was out on a job. He was photographing a military patrol boat on a river near Nashville. The boat was cool, but what really caught Ronnie's eye were the guns mounted on it. There were two giant M2 Browning machine guns silhouetted against the sky. Ronnie looked at those guns and thought about the sheer power of the ammunition they fired. The .50 BMG. He realized something strange. If you wanted to shoot that powerful round, you had to have a heavy machine gun or a tripod. There was no commercially available rifle that a person could just buy, pick up, and shoot. He asked around. The experts told him it was impossible. They said the recoil, the kick of the gun, would be too violent. They said if it could be done, the big companies like Winchester or Remington would have already done it. Ronnie Barrett didn't listen. He went home, sat down at his dining room table, and started drawing. He didn't have 3D computer software. He had a pencil and paper. He sketched a rifle that looked like a long, rectangular box. He came up with a clever idea to handle the kick, which we'll explain in a minute. He took his drawings to machine shops, and they laughed at him. They basically said, "You're a photographer, go back to taking pictures." But Ronnie found one guy, a tool and die maker named Bob Mitchell, who said, "Okay, let's try it." They worked in a garage. It didn't even have a proper floor, just gravel. They used hand-operated machines to cut the steel. And just 4 months later, they had a working prototype. Before we look at the gun, we have to understand the problem Ronnie was trying to solve. When you shoot a gun, you are dealing with Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. The action. The gunpowder explodes and pushes the bullet forward at incredible speed. The reaction. The gun pushes backward into your shoulder with the same amount of momentum. A standard army rifle like an M4 shoots a tiny bullet about the weight of a few paperclips. The kick is a gentle nudge. A .50 BMG bullet is huge. It weighs as much as 10 of those small bullets combined, and it moves incredibly fast. The reaction, the kick, is massive. If you fired this from a solid gun with no special features, it would feel like getting hit by a sledgehammer. It could dislocate your shoulder. So, how did Ronnie tame the beast? Let's look at the World of Guns model to see the 3 magic tricks he used. Trick 1. The reciprocating barrel. The gun moves, so you don't have to. If you look at the X-ray view in World of Guns, watch what happens when the gun fires. You pull the trigger. The bullet flies out. But look at the barrel of the gun. The barrel itself jumps backward. In most guns, the barrel stays still. In the Barrett M107, the barrel is not fixed. It is floating inside the outer shell. When the bullet fires, the barrel and the bolt, the part that seals the back, move backward together for about 1 inch, 25 millimeters. Why? Think of it like catching a fast baseball. If you keep your hand stiff, it hurts. But if you move your hand backward as you catch the ball, you cushion the impact. By letting the heavy barrel move backward against big springs, the gun absorbs a huge chunk of that violent energy before it ever reaches the shooter's shoulder. It spreads the kick out over a longer period of time, changing it from a sharp punch to a big shove. Trick 2. The muzzle brake, the arrowhead. Look at the tip of the barrel. There is a strange, arrowhead-shaped metal piece. This is the muzzle brake. It looks cool, but its job is critical. When the bullet leaves the barrel, there is a massive explosion of high-pressure gas behind it. Normally, that gas shoots forward, acting like a rocket thruster that pushes the gun backward even harder. The muzzle brake on the Barrett has angle vents. It catches that gas and forces it to shoot sideways and backwards. Imagine you are sitting in a rolling office chair holding a fire hose. If you spray water forward, you roll backward. But if you could magically bend the hose so the water shoots backward over your shoulders, the thrust would pull you forward. That is exactly what the muzzle brake does. It uses the explosion to pull the gun forward, fighting against the recoil. Warning: if you are standing next to a Barrett when it fires, this redirected blast will hit you like a physical punch. It is incredibly loud and creates a shockwave. Never stand beside the muzzle. Trick 3. Sheer weight. The gun weighs about 30 pounds, 13.5 kilograms. In the world of physics, heavy things are harder to move than light things. The sheer mass of the rifle soaks up energy. Ronnie Barrett realized that a light .50 didn't need to be feather light. It just needed to be light enough for a man to carry, but heavy enough to be shootable. Recoil reality check. To give you an idea of what Ronnie achieved, let's look at the numbers. M4 carbine. Standard Army rifle. The recoil feels like a gentle tap on the shoulder. Hunting rifle. .308. The recoil feels like a firm shove. 12-gauge shotgun. The recoil feels like a hard punch. Barrett M107, .50 BMG. This bullet has 10 times the energy of the M4, but thanks to Ronnie's design, the recoil only feels about the same as the shotgun. So Ronnie built this amazing gun in his garage. He took it to a gun show in Houston to show it off. Did the military buy it immediately? No. Did gun stores buy it? No. The first 30 rifles were sold to private individuals, gun enthusiasts who just wanted the biggest toy on the range. Ronnie was assembling them on his dining table, struggling to keep his small business alive. But then a mysterious customer called. It was the CIA. It was the 1980s, and the Soviet Union was fighting in Afghanistan. The CIA was secretly supplying weapons to the Afghan fighters, the Mujahideen. They needed something that could hit Soviet armored trucks and helicopters from far away across the mountains. The Barrett was perfect. The CIA bought a batch, and suddenly reports started coming back. This garage gun was destroying Soviet equipment from distances where the Russians couldn't even shoot back. Then came Desert Storm in 1991. The U.S. Marines were heading to the vast, open deserts of Iraq. They realized they needed a long-range weapon to stop Iraqi armored vehicles and detonate landmines. They tested the Barrett. They loved it. They ordered 100 rifles immediately. Ronnie and his small team had to work through Christmas to build them. When the Marines used them in combat, the legend was born. The rifle was officially named the M82A1, and later, the U.S. Army standardized an improved version as the M107. Here is a common misconception. People think the Barrett is a sniper rifle designed mainly for shooting enemy soldiers. While it can do that, its real classification is anti-material rifle. Material is a military word for equipment. Basically, it's an anti-stuff gun. If you are a soldier and you see a bad guy 1,000 meters away, you might use a normal sniper rifle. But what if you see a parked enemy jet fighter? A radar truck that is guiding enemy missiles? A lightly armored troop carrier? A suicide bomber driving a truck filled with explosives, VBID? A normal bullet would bounce off the truck's engine block. But the .50 BMG round fired by the Barrett is different. Let's look at the ammunition types. Ball, a solid chunk of metal. API, armor-piercing incendiary. This has a tungsten spike inside to punch through steel armor, and chemicals that catch fire on impact. It punches through the metal skin of a truck, cracks the engine block, and sets the fuel on fire. Raufoss MK211. This is basically a mini grenade. It penetrates, explodes, and burns. The EOD roll. One of the most important jobs of the Barrett is saving lives without killing anyone. Explosive Ordnance Disposal EOD. Teams use it. If they see a roadside bomb IED 500 meters away, they don't want to walk up to it. They set up the Barrett and shoot the bomb. The energy of the bullet breaks the bomb or blows it up safely from a distance. I shoot high explosives with .50 calories is a real job description for these heroes. This section is for the visual part of the video where you show the game. Now, let's open World of Guns and strip this thing down. Field strip. Notice how easy it is. You pull two pins, like an AR-15, and the upper and lower receiver separate. This was genius design by Ronnie. He made it simple, so soldiers could clean it in the desert sand. The bolt. Look at this triangular bolt. It has 3 massive lugs. It looks like a triangle. When it slams forward, it rotates to lock into the barrel. This lockup has to be incredibly strong to hold back 55,000 psi of pressure. The springs. See these giant springs running along the top? Those are the recoil springs. When the barrel moves back, it compresses these springs. They store that energy and then use it to slam the barrel back forward and feed the next giant cartridge into the chamber. It's a mechanical dance of heavy steel parts. The Barrett M107 is a symbol of American ingenuity. It wasn't built by a committee. It was built by a guy who saw a problem and fixed it in his garage. Today, it is used by over 70 countries. It has evolved into lighter versions like the M107A1, which uses titanium to save weight. It proves that sometimes the experts are wrong. They said a shoulder-fired .50 caliber rifle was impossible. Ronnie Barrett didn't just make it possible. He made it legendary. If you want to explore the inner workings of the Barrett yourself, check out World of Guns. Gun Disassembly. It's the closest you can get to holding one without spending $10,000.